next up, my favorite this year. This is the one I'm most looking forward to by far. It's the Big East tournament. So this is right, isn't it? No, this is the women's side, I believe. Yeah. So I'm gonna have to figure out if we might be talking about a different bracket here. So I will try and grab the Big East tournament because I saw UConn at number 1, and I was like, wait, UConn's like the 4 seed. Here, while we're talking here, Spins, what Big East prospects are you most excited to watch?
Yeah, so just kind of setting the stage again. I know we kind of did this with the Pac-12 a moment ago of, how many top draft picks are there going to be? I think that there's a pretty clear hierarchy of one prospect in particular who has the chance to go in the lottery from the Big East, and that's Cam Whitmore. But he's at Villanova, freshman, really talented player. Right behind him, I think Jordan Hawkins from Connecticut has established himself as maybe the second best prospect. And then there's a flood of guys and a slew of talent who I think would be really good fits to have in the second round area. And maybe one of them can have a really strong performance and get into the back end of the first. But this is one of the deepest conferences in college basketball in terms of NBA draft prospects. And that's where I'm going to be really excited to watch, not just the matchups and how do they play off of each other, but who establishes themselves as a 2023 guy, who might come back to school and have another year at least for that 2024 draft. A lot of really good basketball is going to be played, though, because this is an underratedly deep conference.
Yeah, totally. So, starting on the Wednesday, March 8th here in this first round, Villanova is playing in the first round here. That's kind of the critical thing, right? Like, you get to see them play Georgetown. They get a warm-up game, and then they're probably going to go on and play Creighton. All due respect to the Patrick Ewing era. That might be it for Georgetown there. So Cam Whitmore, in all likelihood, will go on to play Creighton, and Creighton is a team that can throw a lot of different bodies at him defensively, and they have a great rim protector on the interior to try and shut down his drives in Ryan Kalkbrenner. So you're going to get a great matchup, hopefully, with Cam Whitmore, where they'll try and maybe throw Trey Alexander on him for a couple minutes. They'll probably try and throw Baylor Shireman on him for a couple of minutes. They'll certainly throw someone like Arthur Kaluma, who's big and physical, on him for a couple of minutes here and there. There's a lot of different matchups they can throw on him on the perimeter and say, hey, we're going to present you with a lot of different options. We're going to present Justin Moore with a lot of different options, and we're going to make it difficult for them. And then when you try and drive into the paint, you're going to be standing at Ryan Kalkbrenner and waiting for him. So I would imagine that is a game where Cam Whitmore is going to have to be either pushing out in transition, or he's going to have to be kind of setting things up on the perimeter and trying to knock down shots, which I think has been where he's been a little bit less effective this season.
So Villanova absolutely demolished Creighton the last time that these two teams played. And a lot of that came down to the value of Eric Dixon, who is Villanova's stretch 5, being able to draw Kalkbrenner away from the rim. And as soon as he did that, Villanova's guards were able to do a lot of what Villanova guards typically like to do, which is be able to get to the interior, be very patient with their pivots, up and unders, find cutters and kickouts around them. And having a well-spaced floor is what really is going to allow a guy like Cam Whitmore to thrive and get to the basket and punish college defenders one-on-one. So this is a game as much about Eric Dixon, who was phenomenal. I think he had 30 points in the last meeting between these two teams. If he's able to consistently stretch the floor, draw Kalkbrenner away from the lane, that'll be big for Villanova and for Cam Whitmore. Conversely, Creighton has a lot of these second round-ish type of prospects. Like everyone from their starting 5, I could make a justification for having in a top 60. They're a really, really well-rounded and fun team. I want to see if they can make a defensive adjustment. I want to know if they can put Kalkbrenner on Brandon Slater. And then
that's what I would do, by the way.
Kaluma guard Dixon and say, all right, Eric, you're going to beat us from the interior. Take the ball out of the hands of Justin Moore, out of Cam Whitmore, out of all these other guards that we can have, and see if you can keep Ryan closer to the basket to be that interior presence and shot blocker. So free advice there for McDermott. Don't know if he ends up taking it because I doubt anyone wants to listen to me on coaching advice. But You know what? Like that's going to be a really fun matchup. I was incredibly impressed with the way that Kyle Neptune schemed for Creighton the last time that they played.
Yep.
Thought that was the best coaching game that he's had all season. Villanova is on a tear right now, and the return of Justin Moore, an upperclassman who can steady them in the backcourt, is a huge part of it. It allows Whitmore to get easier drives, easier shots because there's that much more attention given by the defense to another perimeter threat. So I really like the way that Villanova is playing, but let's also be real, Sam. This is a team whose season is on the line. Like this is,
Yep.
they need to make major damage in the Big East to even have a shot to get on the bubble. So
That's right.
they're going to be coming at Creighton with everything they've got.
Yeah, I think Villanova probably has to win this conference tournament
to
get in. Yeah, I don't even know if Xavier and Creighton wins with a loss in the final would get them in. The team that I think I would pick to win this is Connecticut. Connecticut is playing exceptionally well again. This is a team that we talked about early in the season when they were 14-0 as being, in my opinion, the best team in the country. Then they went on a bit of a run where they lost 6 of 8 games after teams kind of figured out how to slow down their off-ball movement and figured out how to force Andre Jackson into not being a threat at all offensively. And now they have won, I believe it's something like, 8 of 9 or 9 of 10 again coming down the stretch. They've kind of made some adjustments to their offense, figured out how to get Tristan Newton a little bit more engaged at the lead ball handler spot to be able to run the show for them a bit more consistently. And also Jordan Hawkins is just on an unbelievable tear right now that has pushed them toward the ability to maybe win this conference tournament. And they're going to get a great matchup against Providence because Bryce Hopkins is a really good player that you should at least track for NBA circumstances. They lost at Providence. They blew them out recently though, at home. And that was a game where Jordan Hawkins ended up with 20 points and Alex Caravan, who's a really interesting 6'8" kind of wing forward, had a terrific night. And then additionally, this is a team where, you can basically force Providence to play its one bigger 6'11" guy in Clifton Moore by putting Donovan Clingan on the court. And that's just such an advantage for Connecticut in terms of getting much less offense on the court in terms of spacing for Providence's offense if Clifton Moore is out there. So Connecticut, I think, should win that game. And then we get a really fun matchup with Marquette in all likelihood, all due respect to St. John's and Butler, where, that was just a really, really fun set of games where Marquette ended up beating them in Marquette earlier this season in a pretty tight game. And then again, Connecticut kind of blew the doors off of them with their length and activity level when it was in stores. So I'm excited to see what Connecticut is able to do against Marquette. And I really like this Marquette team too. That's like the matchup, I would say, probably among all of these conference tournaments. If I had to pick one matchup I really want to see, it would probably be Marquette and Connecticut.
It'd be a super fun game. Look, I think you hit the nail on the head with UConn. Like they're the most dangerous team in March in terms of just the depth that they have and the different ways they can beat you. They're huge across the board. We talked about UConn early in the year when they were rising up to, top of the country there and started out the season so strong as an unbeaten. Like when they're really clicking, Jordan Hawkins is making shots, Tristan Newton is engaged. They're so hard to beat because they space the floor effectively. They've got 2 bigs in Adama Sanogo and Donovan Clingan that can just destroy you on the interior. And they defend. They want to get after it and apply pressure on the perimeter because they always know they have length and size behind them to help them out. So UConn's going to be a super dangerous team, but I don't think there's anyone in the Big East more fun to watch than Marquette, just with the way that they move the ball. They've got 2 elite passers. One is a guard, one is a big, and Iguodaro and Tyler Kolek. Like they're a really, really fun team to watch.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And, we didn't talk about Xavier here. Colby Jones is a potential first-round pick, in my opinion, as well. And, we're going to get a really interesting matchup with Seton Hall in all likelihood in that quarterfinal matchup. Seton Hall is a good defensive team that can switch and be versatile in a lot of different ways. Shaheen Holloway is very good at scheming in these tournament settings, as we saw last year at St. Peter's. So really, really intriguing conference tournament that I'm excited to watch.